Yep. So back in the old days of SEO, it was all about keywords. But really today's game is, how do I maximize my result? How do I take more of the real estate on that search results page from my competition and more from me? So, and there's all sorts of tools and features that Google has provided us that we can leverage. So knowledge panels and knowledge graphs, we've talked a little bit about, reviews, related questions, local listings, site links, images, videos. There's lots of different things. And you can take a look over here at this chart and see what Google is showing the most of. This was a study done, I believe, about a year ago, and it just goes through the top features that are showing by percentage. And you can see that, you know, knowledge panels are now showing up in over 50% of the pages. Now, for those of us doing e-commerce or lead generation, we are selling products. But the vast majority of searches out there are not about products. They're about questions and answers to specific things. And so we can build content that helps answer questions to get ourselves in those knowledge panels and get ourselves a boosted result. And I'll show you a couple examples. So Google in the last year has boosted the number of knowledge graphs that are showing up. Again, knowledge graph is something that answers a question. So here's a question: what is a knowledge graph in Google search? I get a Wikipedia result that comes up in what we call position 0, but at the very top of the page, before the ads, before anything else shows up, you get this this listing. And so by being able to answer a question about your products or services, you can actually and optimize around particular keywords, you can actually potentially show up. The downside of this is these are Google owned properties, so to speak. So any click-throughs to this don't necessarily get counted towards your branded search. They end up showing up as referrals in your results, which is totally fine. But you may see, if you get some of these and you get a lot of them on high volume pages, you may see some of your branded search results decrease and your referral results increase. Images, probably one of the most underutilized assets on a website. 27, almost 27% of searches are in the image search in Google. And we anticipate that this is going to increase because we are a visual society. We are focused on that. So there are several things you can do to help optimize your images. By naming them, naming your image URL. It's just like your page URL, and it's crawlable. And if you have relevant keywords that are related to that image, that helps that image get indexed. And Google has spent a bunch of time working on classifying images by categories. And so if you go into their image search today, you'll see that there are lots of categories, and there are sponsored ads. Not on every type of search today, but particularly in e-commerce, not as much in home building yet. I see that as a future thing. So you can name your images. You can use captions to describe that image. So that's content that's right next to the image that describes it, helps link that image to a description. You can fill in your alt and title text. I'm sure you heard that a lot, with descriptive sentences about that image. And then we can use structured data, and we can send Google an image sitemap to tell them what our images are so they can crawl them more effectively. Knowledge graphs, again, we talked a little bit about that, showed you an example. These are just some steps, and I'm not going to go through every one of these. Here's some actually specific steps from Propecta on how to make sure that you can qualify to get a knowledge graph on your results. So growing traffic, right? So essentially SEO is still a popularity contest. The biggest brands, the biggest sites, sites with the most engagement, they get the better ranking. So, if you are in a business that's competing in retail, today you might see that Amazon is rapidly showing up in the top of the organic listings, made a concerted effort to get there. If you're in the home builder market, you may see listings from New Home Source or Zillow above your results because they are heavily focused on optimizing their sites for SEO, and they get so much traffic that if you're a mid-sized home builder out in the Midwest and you're competing against Zillow that has a national presence and lots of people coming in, they're going to get a little more relevance than you. There are some tricks to try to beat them, but grow your traffic and focus on engagement. So even if you can't grow your traffic a ton, growing it helps improve your relevancy, and then making sure that those people engage with the site, they stay on the site, and take some kind of action, whether that's a click through to another page or filling out a form. That shows the search engines that your site has stickiness, and they will raise your relevancy. And here's some, when you get the slides, some examples of that you can click through to get some ideas on how to do some user experience testing to help drive engagement and build credible build credible inbound links that have high authority. So again, a popularity contest, other sites that are popular link back to your site, you get some bonus points, so to speak, from the search engines to say that your site is more authoritative or trusted than somebody else who doesn't have that link coming from a well-known site. So focus on user experience, focus on link building, and then on-site activities.
Eric, a question on that user experience comment. We see sometimes people, there's been a trend towards some of these one-page sites that are really long where the link kind of just pushes you down the page. It sounds like what you're saying is that may not be great from an SEO standpoint because you don't get that depth into the site and the additional clicking page to page. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, the research isn't a ton clear here. The way I would look at it is if you have a reasonably complicated site. So if we were looking at a mid-sized home builder with 5 communities in 5 different metro areas, if we had just a one-page site that focuses on that community, we can't spend enough time. We have to build a lot of content onto that one page for the search engines to rank. And we already know that the top, only the visible portions as a general rule is going to get clicked on. So you're losing an opportunity to show that you have relevancy in a particular metro area. So let's say that's Denver, Colorado versus Colorado Springs versus Pueblo, Colorado. So just using that as an example. On the other hand, if you have a very, very, very specific topic, we have a client who sells back massagers, and they really sell 5 products, but let's say they just sold 1, and it's just this back massager. In that particular case, it may be more beneficial for them than to try to invent content that isn't meaningful or additive, to keep to that one site where it's really focused on that specific product and the keywords around it. So I think it just depends on what your business situation. For the most of us, a multi-page site that has dedicated pages targeted at specific keywords is still kind of the best way to go.